All those in favour, please say aye. To the contrary, thank you very much. We are now moving on to the group remuneration policy, item number 10. And I will welcome Wendell de Cunha, Manager Reward. What a wonderful title that is, a Manager Reward. Is that a reward for being a manager, or do you manage rewards? And then General Manager People Services, Pauline de Nuneville, who are going to give us the presentation about the group remuneration policy, and which I have a small thing to say, oddly enough.
Kia ora mera, councillors. Ko Wendell de Cunha Takuingwa. I am here with Pauline de Unionville, who is the General Manager for People Services. We're both from Group Shared Services. I'm the Head of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion and Reward at Group Shared Services as well. I will be sharing with you the Group REM policy, which we are asking governing body to approve today. This policy has been updated by a joint team from Auckland Council, Auckland Transport, Eke Panuku, Tataki, Auckland Unlimited, and Watercare, with feedback from the PSA and other unions, and endorsement from the GSS board. It is a legislative requirement that the adoption of a remuneration policy is approved by governing body, and that any such policy must be reviewed every 3 years. The last time this policy was approved by governing body was in 2021. While governing body does approve this document, operational remuneration is then delegated to chief executives to manage for each organization. The working group that created the policy meet regularly, sharing information and evaluation practices, which ensures insights are shared with chief executives for their consideration. And the group believes the current principles of fairness, financial responsibility, social equity through a living wage, and contribution are still valid, and only minor additions and changes are recommended. I will now cover off the key changes to the policy from the 2021 policy. Firstly, a change to our fairness principle. We have added in our frameworks and policies are transparent to support equity and build trust. This aligns with our overall strategy to share information with our leaders and staff to build trust and ensure equity. Other changes include a statement on reiterating our support for equity in the market positioning and remuneration ranges section. The statement added reads, our commitment to ensure equity. The other change is on wording on financial prudence in the management of remuneration for the executive leadership teams. The last statement in that paragraph now reads, this enables a measure of consistency within the whānau and parity with the external market while always maintaining a financially prudent lens. These additions were the major changes to the policy. And in conclusion, the approval of this policy by governing body ensures, one, that common principles that support financially responsible decision-making while rewarding contribution to strategic outcomes continues. It continues our commitment to a living wage, equity, and fairness in pay across our diverse groups. It ensures common salary bands for all staff, including senior leaders in each entity, aligned practices when placing staff in salary bands, and ensuring any exceptions are dealt with similarly across the group. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are happy to take any questions.
Righto, well, I've got one. I see here that we have our commitment to ensure equity. Now, I'm bombarded with that, so it's slightly getting through to me eventually. And I note that percentage increases are inequitable because the people who are on the most get more money than the people on the bottom. So what if we change, to make it fully equitable, we should just give everybody the same dollar increase. Now that's equitable. So what you've got here is an equitable policy. What do you say to that?
Your Worship, I'll answer that question. Actually, we do apply increases differentially, and actually we've made a conscious decision in recent times to increase at a higher rate some of the lower bands in the organisation. So we're right onto your theme and dealing with it.
Oh, isn't that wonderful to hear? Catching up with my equitable views on life. Last year I thought we just shoved it up by inflation and everybody got it. So how is that equitable?
We did do it for contractual obligations with our union staff, but for senior staff, we didn't manage to do a lower increase. So we do have, through our social equity, through a living wage principle, those considerations. Whenever we have to make decisions, our lower paid staff always take priority.
Sorry to certain individuals in the room, but the bosses got a smaller percentage last year.
Well, so did the councillors and mayor, actually, but we didn't have any say in that. I'm just trying to make sure, if we're going to go through, if I'm going to have to read signs about equity everywhere, that we are actually trying to be. New Zealand was far better off when I was a child, when there wasn't such a disparity between the salaries of the top and the bottom. And so perhaps we could move back to that. I'm just going to ask you to think about that, if that's all. And I've got questions here from other equitable people, such as Councillor Hills, followed by Councillor Dalton, followed by Councillor Turner.
Thank you for your equitable treatment. Just the question, and it is difficult because although the policy is ours, it's not really totally operational. But I guess a question on the living wage and how we're making sure we stick to the policy. Is there anything we need to do there, or we just trust that the system works? You know, you've got the December inflation with the PSA contracts, but also the living wage sticks to that, whatever process we signed up to, and also pay equity. Do we have a lot of that budgeted?
Through the chair, yes, we double check that we pay no one below a living wage. So the processes are set up to validate and ensure that whether it's through recruitment or whether it's through the annual REM review, that is maintained.
Thank you, that's good to hear. And just on the pay equity, we've budgeted kind of a window of what we think will be coming in the next few years.
Yes, there's an allowance in our budgeting to deal with aspects of pay equity, and there's also a provision within the budget to deal with what is in effect quite a substantial claim in relation to library assistance. So both things are accommodated to some degree in current budgets.
Councillor Dalton, please.
Thank you. Auckland Transport had a gender pay equity gap worse than the national average in terms of women to men. Now that was because there are less women at higher positions in the organisation. I don't suggest a woman should get the job because she's a woman. I believe the woman should get the job because she's the right person for the job with the right skills, experience. How do we ensure that we are making provision to ensure that that recruitment is going far enough? We certainly saw it on the appointment to the Auckland Transport Board during this term. It was really difficult, probably for a variety of reasons, that we weren't getting the right, we weren't getting a lot of women through. So it's around the investment in recruitment, the search for recruitment, and also ensuring that there is enough budget provision. That's an operational thing to close that gender equity gap. So my question is, do you believe that the policy is providing enough flexibility for that through the delegations, that there's an awareness enough of that we should be trying harder to get that gender equity gap closed?
Through the chair, the question is broader than the group remuneration policy by itself, and there are action plans in place to ensure that we are recruiting at senior levels and focusing on internal talent as well to bring them into higher positions. So those action plans do exist.
Actually, that's a really good point, is the investment in existing talent within the organisations. Does that stretch to the board appointments?
Through the chair, not through the group REM policy.
I see. Thank you. We're back to political. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dalton. Councillor Turner, please.
So does the council have any matrix of any sort so that individual productivity affects personal remuneration increases?
Through the chair, the principle of contribution is linked to personal contribution, but different organizations covered by the policy would have different systems to measure the level of performance of an individual. So there might be performance ratings in some, and others would do it based on manager discretion.
So in
If
this
I'm-
discussion, contribution means productivity, does it?
Councillor, it's potentially a quite complicated area for this environment, so I'd be happy to talk about it outside of this. We do have a performance management system. It does have a bearing on people's pay progression. We stop short in our environment of doing some other things that you might, in another situation, use to deal with the situation you're talking about, but we do not do bonuses and we do not do withheld salary here. The judgment is that they're not appropriate for our public sector context. Yeah, but I'm happy to pick this up outside of this environment. Just the final point is, you know, we are not a factory where productivity can be easily measured, and therefore we've got to be very careful with that notion, how it translates into pay, you know.
Thank you.
Okay. You can retire, you two. Thank you very much. Oh no, we've got a question from Councillor Bartley. My humble apologies, I missed you.
It's all right, thank you. I just put my hand up anyway. I just really wanted to ask about, since we're talking about remuneration, the pay gap regarding Pasifika workers. Just a couple of years ago, it was that Pasifika workers at Auckland Council are earning 27.6% less than the organisation's average. So I really want to see, has that changed and what are we doing to change that? And I believe it's because there are disproportionately high number in the low banded roles. Thank you.
Through the chair, you are absolutely right about the disproportionate number in low banded roles. And that is exactly what we are trying to address through our diversity, equity, and inclusion plans, where we're looking at growing our talent internally and looking at external recruitment to make sure that we close those gaps.
That was my point. Okay, you can retire and I'll take comments if there are any. Councillor Williamson has a comment.
This will be very quick because I'm scared stiff now to ask anything in case that Japanese mallet gets used. But just last year, just for Councillor Dalton's, 4 people were appointed to the board of AT last year. 2 of them were women and 2 of them were men. Dale Dillikar, that we appointed, is proving, and I think Councillor Foley can take some responsibility for that, is proving outstanding. And Julie Hardacre has gone on to be deputy chair and doing an amazing job. So of the 4 appointed last year, 2 were women, 2 were other, and they were all working out well.
I was really happy to see that shift last year because it started out badly. Thank you, Councillor.
All right, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, carried. We're going to adjourn for half an hour for lunch. I don't know if there's any on. Is there any lunch out there? Apparently there is. So I shall see you back here at 10 to 1, if that's all right, ladies and gentlemen.